What is the role of religion in our ever-changing world? From the NewsChannel 5 network, this is Issues of Faith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Issues of Faith. Glad you are with us. Today, a conversation with Father Joseph Breen. He is, of course, a priest here, a retired priest. He was a priest for 58 years here in Nashville. He has several thoughts, always interesting to hear from him. We're going to talk about immigration and some thoughts he has for the Catholic Church and the bishop here. Father Breen, thank you for being here.
It's a real pleasure. Always has been.
I always like having you on. Let's talk about immigration. Immigration is in the news. We're seeing it discussed an awful lot, and it's one of the most divisive issues when we do these shows here on NewsChannel 5 Plus that comes up. What is the appropriate religious response to what we're seeing with immigration right now in our country, do you think?
I really think that we have to combine mercy and good judgment and justice. I think the countries have a right to close their borders and have limited immigration or immigrants. But they should do it, especially if they're among the more wealthy countries. They should have more of a generous response to helping these people who come from countries that are just so poor. They come here to get their children an education, to find a job, and to perhaps share in a better life. And countries that are where the wealthy, prosperous, are doing well, hopefully they have a generous spirit. And I think in the past, we can be proud of what the United States have done, the government. A few things that have happened that are very unfortunate. Separation of the children from their parents, that was terrible. I mean, mean and immoral. The other thing that we cannot be proud of is going around to the homes where people have been here 10, 15 years, they've had jobs, they have paid taxes, they're really outstanding citizens. And for them to be picked up without any hearing, sent back, and many times they did that with the father, the husband, and left the children and family back here. I remember so very well when I was at St. Everett's and knew some of those children who were so scared that when they left home that morning to go to school, they wouldn't see their father when they went home. Tremendous fear and pain in the lives of those young people. That was wrong. But there's the right, as countries do have the right, especially those who are limited in resources, to set limits on immigrants and so forth.
So it sounds like you're concerned by what you've seen here recently in the United States.
Yes.
And what do you think the appropriate response for churches should be?
Well, I think it should be with more mercy, greater financial, material assistance, finding them jobs. I think that that's one of the areas we Catholics can be very, very proud of. In all the principal cities we have, along with a bishop and an office of that nature, every one of them have the Catholic churches. They handle immigrants and they handle refugees. And the refugees are those who come from very poor countries, like Guatemala, Ecuador, that are real poor. Not only that, they're subject to killings, little or no educational opportunities, very small chance to get a job. They're the ones that we need to relate to.
So often now, I feel like people, they're not relating. I do a show, Open Line, and this is one of the most divisive issues. And the thing that we'll say is, if people aren't here legally, then they should be removed. And if they cross illegally, then they should be subject to deportation in our laws. I mean, we hear that over and over. What would you say when people say that?
That's pretty valid, but we have taken away several important programs where when they come, they used to be able to relate to a program that will allow them to stay here. There were 2 or 3 very special programs, and that those programs have been done away with, and it was working quite well. We still, unfortunately, we haven't dealt with our DECA problem. The children who have been here many years and their parents never get citizenship, and there's still talk about sending them back, and that would be, to me, a tragedy. It seemed like the Republicans, Democrats, Christians, everybody should speak up for those that are young and those who have not violated any laws or anything.
And you experienced that when you were a priest and where you worked. And I guess, are we at a point, are you concerned about the conversation, the dialogue, the discourse in our country at this point, especially this issue? Are we dehumanizing people? Are we able to even talk about this, do you think, in ways that are productive? What do you think about the discourse right now?
We do too much dehumanizing. We got to keep in mind as Christians, Mary and Joseph had to leave in order to find safety, opportunity to live free from fear. Their flight into Egypt. We also are aware of the fact that I really admire not only what we're doing as Catholics, our bishops, but I've always had great admiration for our Jewish brethren. They always seem to be very involved in social justice, also in just and good immigration. I'm proud to know several of the rabbis and others. And also, they follow those words, I believe it's in Ezekiel. Remember, you too were once strangers in a foreign land. That's what motivates them, and that enables them to really stand up for what is right, to make their Jewish tradition something that they can be proud of. I think our bishops, the Catholic Church, has been also quite strong. As I said earlier, in every principal city there is an office of Catholic Charity that deals with immigrants and deals with refugees. The difference is the immigrant chooses to come here or there, travel one country to another. Refugees are those that are victims of pain, suffering, hardship, war, drugs, and whatever. And in our local diocese, just in the refugee program, we have something in the last 10 years, 4,344 refugees have come through that department here just in Nashville. And they come from 24 different countries. And that in the local program here in Nashville, and they're right here in Nashville, it's several places throughout the town. 34 employees work with that, and there's some 15 programs. One of them finding a job, another one helping kids after school, what to do with them. 15 different programs. We can be proud of that, very proud.
Are you optimistic about, and this will be my last question on this issue, are you optimistic about where we're headed here? I mean, do you think, obviously you're concerned about where we are right now. Where do you think we're going to be on immigration in the future? I mean, are you concerned about where we're headed?
A lot depends on who gets out and vote. It is that important. And hopefully the people will study the issues very, very well. And when they go to the polls, use good judgment for the betterment of America. And I think most of the politicians would like to vote for the DACA program, young kids being civilized here in the United States. I think that's going to make a big difference whom we vote for.
All right. All right. So you've served as a priest for 58 years. You're 84 years old. So you've earned your right to say what's on your mind. You've recently...
Within limits.
Within limits. Okay. So you've recently sent letters to the bishop with some thoughts about the Catholic Church. And I guess, all right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about your thoughts there. What you would like, I guess, reforms you would like to see. So we'll take a break, come back, talk about that. Be back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. Issues of Faith. We have with us Father Joseph Breen. Talked about some of your thoughts on immigration in the first segment. In this segment, I want to talk about some letters you have written to all bishops about what's on the Catholic Church. You have serious thoughts that the women should be priests and the priests should be able to marry. How do you come to that? I guess tell us about that.
Well, we cannot deny the fact that our leadership has not been good the last number of years. Leadership in our church. 2 years ago, we had 30 million fallen away Catholics. Now, 2 years later, it's 40 million. With the women being priests, the men able to marry, we will be able to get sufficient numbers. But also what's very important there is we'll be able to really choose quality. We need both. And we need to educate ourselves, and especially more and more people need to call up the bishops, because those 30 and now 40 million, we have really been critical of the gay community. We cannot deny it. And I know these bishops are sincere and good and decent, but I don't think they have spoken to very many gay people. And there's very little contact between the bishop, the priests, and the bishop and the laity. They're just too busy doing other things. Many of the places in America, it's very difficult for a lay person to ever make an appointment with the bishop and see him personally.
So that's three things. So you're talking about women priests, married priests, and I guess changing a position on gay
several of
and
those issues.
Right.
And it's 30 to 40 tells you a real serious problem. But we learned from Ireland a little bit over a year ago They had a national election. Ireland used to be all Catholic. All kinds of seminaries, places where men go to be trained to be priests. So much everything Catholic. They had an election, national, not just among the Catholics, but among all the people in Ireland. And the bishops went to a great effort, advertisement programs, to condemn homosexuality and also same-sex marriage. What did the election show? 70% of the people, and I would say that would be the way it would be in the United States if we had an election, a choice. 70% voted against that bill, and only 30% voted in favor of it.
Now, these are dramatic changes.
Oh, dramatic, and also...
So let's talk about women priests. Do you think there's a chance that could happen?
If the people realize that it's a great need and a necessity. We don't have the quality. We don't have the numbers.
You think there's not enough priests out there?
Oh, it's no ifs and buts about that. That's very plain, very apparent. And we brought in a pretty large number of foreign priests. And we got to be honest about it. They're dedicated, they're knowledgeable, they're holy, very impressive. But somehow many of them, the English language, many of them, you can't understand them. And also the fact they maybe find it hard to create a community. And in many of the communities in our churches, who are responsible for it, not just Catholic, Presbyterian, others, women. They're the ones that organize, they're the ones that really help create a community.
So women priests and then married priests. This is another dramatic change.
We have a greater choosing of married men. We already have a good number of deacons. And there are many of them doing a great job. Put them a little bit more education, my opinion, and it's a pretty good judgment. They would make good priests also.
And you're saying...
Today, you know, with the scandals, pedophiles, how many mothers are going to encourage their sons to be priests? How many fathers? And that's the attitude we have today, whereas 25, 30 years back when I went into seminary, that's what a mother and a father encouraged their sons to be priests. But now it is too difficult. It really is. And I feel very strongly that, as I said in the letter, I don't think celibacy is very healthy.
So what response have you gotten? You've sent this to all bishops, and including our bishop here in Nashville Diocese. What response have you gotten?
I think I got 6 responses, and they were very nice. They didn't commit themselves one or the other, but they did what bishops should do. When you send them a letter, or send you a letter, let's say, and it's not mean or obscene, what should you do when you get that letter? Acknowledge me. Thanks, whether you agree or not. Over the years, you know, there's been some who didn't agree with me. I would always send them a letter back saying, I really appreciate you taking the time to express yourself so. Let us pray for each other. God bless you, Father Breen.
So
that's a matter of courtesy. We do not get letters back from our bishops, which I have grown up to realize that's a lack of professional courtesy. So I did hear from 5, and I heard from the Archbishop of Louisville, even though he's taken cancer treatments, he has been very outstanding in that regard.
Do you think this is going to happen? How realistic is this female priests, married priests?
Well, it depends. If the women who really believe in this issue, they see it as a matter of justice, they do what the women did when they wanted to vote. Organize, protest, write letters to the bishop. Let them know that we're all together. The criticism that we've had now for the past number of years, very little positive leadership. And they were saying in order to really have the leadership, the laity, the priests, and the bishops have to get together. And I don't want to sound too critical, but the bishops go to their meetings, and I don't know how many do, but I know many of them don't. They get the agenda, let's say a week or two before. My recommendation, if I spoke to the bishop, and they're good men, it's just that when you get older, it's hard to change. We need to let them know that what we're doing by condemning them, that and same-sex marriage, that 30 became 40 million.
You think people are leaving the church?
We've lost almost all the gay Catholics.
And we have a minute and a half left. Is this the reason, is that the reason that you're making this an issue? Now that you're retired, you've 84 years old, served 58 years, you're making this an issue. Why?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's the way the Catholic people feel and relate. And there's very little relationships with our leaders, the bishops. And I would like to say the bishops need to share all that with the priests and find out from them, what do you think about gay marriage? What do you think about homosexuals? We would tell them a different story. Why? Because we've come to know them. They are good people, beautiful people, and they're the ones who suffer the most. They're the ones we're supposed to, as Christians, they're the ones we're supposed to reach out and comfort, encourage, and help them in every way we can.
Father Breen, thank you for coming on. Always very interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much. Father Breen,
nice
thank
to be
you.
with you.
Yes, sir. Thanks to all of you for watching Issues of Faith. Have a great day, everybody.